Chris Jenkins had it all: youth, intelligence, and a bright future ahead of him. He was a brilliant student, a gifted athlete, and loved by everyone who knew him. On Halloween night in 2002, he left a bar in Minneapolis, happy and celebrating with his friends. It was the last time he was seen alive. 4 months later, his body was discovered in the icy waters of the Mississippi River. The police quickly concluded it was a tragic, accidental drowning. A young man who had too much to drink and fell into the water. But his family never believed it. That gut-wrenching feeling that something was terribly wrong, something more sinister had happened, just wouldn't go away. And as it turns out, they were not alone. Their search for the truth would uncover a pattern so disturbing. It would challenge everything we thought we knew about serial crime in America. Across the country, hundreds of families were grappling with the same kind of loss, the same unanswered questions. And to retired NYPD detectives, Kevin Gannon and Anthony Duarte, started to notice an alarming pattern. As they began their investigation, connecting with grieving families and poring over case files, a chilling map of the United States began to take shape. Red dots started appearing, clustering along the I-94 corridor, from Minnesota to Ohio, Iowa, New York, and beyond. Dozens, then hundreds of young men were dying in the exact same strange way. The similarities were too precise to be a coincidence. The victims were almost exclusively young, Caucasian, college-aged men. They weren't just any students. They were the best and the brightest, popular, athletic, and intelligent, with promising futures. The circumstances surrounding their disappearances were eerily alike. Each one vanished after leaving a bar or a party, often alone. And the outcome was always the same. They were found weeks or months later, drowned in a nearby body of water, a river, a lake, or a creek. Gannon and Duarte had to ask the question nobody else seemed to be asking. Was this just a heartbreaking series of coincidences? Or were they looking at a predatory pattern, a hunt that was unfolding in plain sight? And then they found the details. The one piece of evidence so bizarre, so terrifying, that it turned a series of suspicions into a shocking nationwide theory. Near the locations where many of the bodies were discovered, a strange symbol was found scrawled in graffiti, a smiley face. It was their calling card. Sometimes it was just a simple, classic smiley. Other times it was more elaborate, more sinister smiley face, with horns like a devil, or one wearing a hood. They appeared on trees, under bridges, on concrete abutments, always close to where these young men met their end. Was this the killer's signature? A twisted taunt for the police and the families left behind, a symbol of their success in getting away with murder. It was from this chilling discovery that the smiley face killer theory was born. The idea that these weren't accidents, but the work of a sophisticated and elusive killer, or killers, who marked their territory with a symbol universally known for happiness, now twisted into a harbinger of death. Naturally, a theory this explosive was met with immediate and intense skepticism from law enforcement. Authorities across multiple states have repeatedly and publicly dismissed the theory. Their official conclusion remains unchanged. These are unfortunate, but separate, accidental drownings. They point to the dangers of binge drinking, disorientation, and the devastating effects of hypothermia on a person who falls into cold water. The smiley faces, they argue, are just a coincidence Coleman graffiti that can be found anywhere, with no connection to the deaths. But on the other side of the argument, detectives Gannon and Duarte paint a much darker picture. They believe in a terrifying truth. A highly organized network of killers is operating across the country. They propose that the victims are not falling into the water, but are being abducted after leaving the bars. They are held, possibly tortured, and then murdered. Only after they are dead are their bodies placed in the water to destroy evidence and stage the scene to look like a simple drowning. It's a perfect crime, designed to fool investigators and leave families with a lifetime of doubt. Accident versus murder, coincidence versus a conspiracy. Two starkly different realities, with hundreds of lives hanging in the balance. But if these are just accidents, there are too many details that just don't fit. The official story is full of cracks. For instance, why did so many of the victims' cell phones suddenly go dead at the exact same time, as if powered off deliberately, not just losing signal? And what about the bodies? In several cases, victims were found in areas that had already been thoroughly searched multiple times by police and volunteer teams. It's as if the bodies were placed there long after the search had concluded. Then there's the GPS data. In some cases, a victim's phone pinged a cell tower for the last time, miles away from the body of water where they were eventually found. How could an intoxicated person in freezing weather navigate such a long and difficult journey to a remote riverbank? Perhaps the most compelling piece of forensic evidence is that, according to some independent reports, several victims had little to no water in their lungs, which is inconsistent with a typical drowning death. These aren't just minor inconsistencies. These are glaring questions that punch holes in the official narrative and give weight to the terrifying theory that something else is happening to these young men. If Gannon and Duarte's theory is true, the implications are staggering. This isn't the work of a lone killer traveling from state to state. The sheer number of victims, the vast geographic spread, and the decades-long timeline suggest something far more organized. The map of the US transforms from a collection of isolated tragedies into a web of interconnected crimes. This would be a nationwide network of killers, operating with a level of sophistication and coordination that has allowed them to fly completely under the radar of law enforcement for over 20 years. If correct, this would make them the most prolific and successful serial killing gang in US history, and the most terrifying thought of all. If they've been this successful for this long, there's no reason to believe they've stopped. They could still be active, still hunting, waiting for the next opportunity. To this day, the smiley face killer theory remains one of the most divisive and controversial topics in modern criminology. For every piece of evidence the detectives present, law enforcement offers a counter-explanation. But for the hundreds of families left behind, this isn't an academic debate. It's a painful, unending search for answers. Were their sons, their brothers, their loved ones simply the victims of a tragic, unfortunate accident? Or were they a link in a horrifying chain of brutal, calculated murders, orchestrated by a shadowy group that has yet to be brought to justice? The truth, for now, remains hidden, perhaps forever, just beneath the surface of the cold, dark water. Thank you for watching. This is a complex and deeply unsettling topic, and our hearts go out to all the families affected. What do you think? Is it a conspiracy or a coincidence? Let us know in the comments below. And if you find these kinds of deep dives interesting, please consider subscribing to our channel and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation.